and will be whenever it is undertaken as separate from what already is and perceived as a means for establishing it. To believe this is possible is to believe you can do it. This can only be the voice of the ego. You see, the ego says, you can do it. The ego says, it needs to be done. And God says, it was done from the beginning. It has always been. You don't need to do it over. You don't need to establish health. Health is the law of your being. Continuing, truth can only be recognized and need only be recognized. When you know the truth, when you recognize the truth, I'm going to say when you recognize God's truth, you know the truth and you're no longer deluded. Which means that you no longer suffer from distorted perception. And so you see the truth. And the wart, or the rash, or whatever dis-ease you might be experiencing, will cease presenting itself to you because you are no longer deluded. And correction will occur. But it will be a correction in your mind of a misperception, a correction that spontaneously occurred the moment you recognized truth and knew the truth that rendered the misperception invalid and no longer valuable to you. Continuing. Inspiration. Now, where did that come from? We're talking about truth. Well, truth, recognized, is experienced as inspiration. It is a shift from a tiny, tight, confined, defensive, mental attitude and feeling into an open, singular, unlimited experience of reality, of truth, that is a joy to be experiencing, not only because you know you're knowing the truth, but because you're no longer experiencing insanity. And you're feeling your wholeness, and you're feeling your natural invulnerability. And that is inspiring. That is the experience of the inspiration of recognizing the truth and no longer being deluded. Inspiration, continuing, is of the Spirit, and certainty is of God, according to His laws. Both, therefore, come from the same source, since inspiration comes from the voice for God, and certainty comes from the laws of God. Healing does not come directly from God, who knows His creations as perfectly whole. Yet healing is still of God because it proceeds from His voice, the voice for truth, the Holy Spirit, that which is nothing more than your right mind, and from His laws. from the unchanging, underlying, perfect structure integrity of God, which, because it is of God, finds expression in everything that God is being. Continuing, it is their result in a state of mind which does not know Him. Meaning, as long as you are in ignorance and emerging out of it, healing for you is experienced as of God, because it proceeds from His voice and from His laws. The state of mind, which does not know Him, is unknown to Him. He doesn't know that you don't know Him. He knows that you know Him. And you're pretending that you don't. And you like your pretension better than reality. And because you believe that you are alone, you are holding on to that pretension for dear life because you think it's what's going to save you. The state is unknown to Him and therefore does not exist. But those who sleep are stupefied, or better, unaware. Because they are unaware, they do not know. Or, I'm going to be a little down and dirty here. Or they feign, F-E-I-G-N, they feign not to know. Because it's more satisfying to be in a state of a denial of knowing, so that you can join with your brothers and sisters in the camaraderie of conflict. You all do know better. You all do know better. You're just choosing to ignore it, like hitting the snooze button on the alarm. Continuing. The Holy Spirit must work through you to teach you He is in you. Oh, well, here comes that involvement stuff again. If the Holy Spirit must work through you, it means that you have to be involved with someone else for the purpose of embodying love. I wish to be the embodiment of love. When that's your prayer, then that's the invitation to the Holy Spirit to reveal to you how to be the presence of love that has one purpose, not to get something for itself, but to extend something of value to someone else. The Holy Spirit must work through you to teach you He is in you. This is an intermediary step toward the knowledge that you are in God because you are part of Him. The miracles which the Holy Spirit inspires, hear that? The miracles which the Holy Spirit inspires, inspiration brings about change of perception. Change of perception, change of the lens that you're looking through, changes the way you see everything. And everything reports back to you in a new fashion that embodies more of perfection. And healing, you would say, has occurred. The miracles which the Holy Spirit inspires can have no order of difficulty, because every part of creation is of one order. This is God's will and yours. God's will and yours are one. They aren't two. You don't stand separate from God, expressing a will identical to His. Your will and God's will are one and the same once you dare to abandon your so-called right to a will of your own and what you have called a God-given right to express your own will. Again, the miracles which the Holy Spirit inspires can have no order of difficulty, because every part of creation is of one order. This is God's will and yours. The laws of God establish this, and the Holy Spirit reminds you of it. Now, if the laws of God establish this, then the laws of God have established it. It's already established. You're already at the point of perfection and must understand yourself therefrom. It's already established. So you're not now going to become agents for change in the world so that you can establish the laws of God or the presence of God where it never was before. This is about yielding up the idea that you have a mind of your own and recognizing that if you have a mind at all, it must be the presence of mind, which is God. Then, in the abandonment of your so-called right to express your own mind, you let the mind of God in and through you. You will find the singular experience of order, harmony, perfection, beauty, loveliness in you and in everything. And whether you're looking at yourself or looking at something else, you will feel the singularity and know that it's you. Or know that you're it. It's all one. Continuing. When you heal, you are remembering the laws of God and forgetting the laws of the ego. And one very practical jog to your memory is to remember that you are under the laws of God, not under the laws of physics. Just contemplate that from time to time during the week. You are not governed by, bound by the laws of physics, because the laws of physics are nothing more than your misinterpretation of the laws of God. You think that the laws of physics keep you on the ground? Gravity? No. The idea that you are and that you're, and the ideas that compose your body are where they are right now because a simple decision has been made to be there. Right now you think you have no choice but to be bound to the chair you're in by gravity until you exert an opposite force and stand up. It's not true. The chair is an idea. The planet is an idea. Your body is an idea. And you are the mind in which all of those ideas are occurring. And how they relate to each other has to do with a decision you as mind are making. And you can reconfigure the orientation in your mind, and their relative positions will change because there's no matter to them to oppose it. And there are no laws of matter, laws of physics, to deny your decision as mind. Again, when you heal, you are remembering the laws of God and forgetting the laws of the ego. We said before that forgetting is merely a way of remembering better. Or you could say neglecting to reinforce your best definitions. Continuing, it is therefore not the opposite of remembering. Forgetting is not the opposite of remembering when it is properly perceived. Perceived improperly, it induces a perception of conflict with something else, as all incorrect perception does. Remembering and forgetting are not opposites. They're choices. If you neglect to remember, your mutually agreed upon definitions, if you neglect to reinforce those, if you neglect to remember them, because you desire to remember God's truth that was placed in you because you are His self-expression, then your choice is to remember something outside your memory banks, outside your the synapses in your brain that you think is the repository of memories. When you desire to remember what God placed in you from the beginning and is, and we could say, reconfirming eternally anew, your attention and intention is in a new direction, and you will neglect to reinforce or remember your mutually agreed upon definitions. And thus you will weaken your bondage to them. Properly perceived, continuing, it can be used as a way out of conflict, as I just described, as all proper perception can. All abilities, then, should be given over to the Holy Spirit, who knows how to use them properly. Well, here we go again. Let's be very clear. Turning them over to the Holy Spirit sounds like yielding to the Holy Spirit. Sounds like submitting yourself to the Holy Spirit, subjecting yourself to the Holy Spirit, abandoning self-authority, abandoning self-responsibility, abandoning all that stuff that makes you respectable, becoming a puppet of the Holy Spirit. Oh, But if the Holy Spirit is nothing more than your right mind, then it's wise to submit to the Holy Spirit and yield to it, because you're yielding to your innate capacity to be utterly sane. All abilities, then, should be given over to the Holy Spirit, who knows how to use them properly. He can use them only for healing because He knows you only as whole. Oh, well, there you go. Here you thought you're going to be able to be a healer and heal the world and be an agent for change. But the only way you'll end up being an agent for change is when you let the Holy Spirit's vision of your wholeness be communicated to you by it, so that you might see your wholeness and feel it, and you're the one that gets healed. And your healing is what gives you new eyes to look with. I wish to see the evidence of love. I wish to be the evidence of love. Continuing, by healing, whose? Yours, you learn of wholeness. And by learning of wholeness, you learn to remember God. You have forgotten Him, but the Holy Spirit still knows that your forgetting must be translated into a way of remembering, and not perceived as a separate ability which opposes an opposite. That is the way in which the ego tries to use all abilities, since its goal is always to make you believe that you are in opposition. Remember, that is the way in which the ego tries to use all abilities, since its goal is always to make you believe that you are in opposition, rather than that you are an indivisible, unconflicted singularity as pure mind. Now, you've got to remember, continuing, the ego's goal is as unified as the Holy Spirit's. And it is because of this that their goals can never be reconciled in any way or to any extent. Now, why would the ego's goal be as unified as the Holy Spirit's? Because whether or not you are consciously fully aware of being the Christ, or you are seeing yourself as a partitioned off part of creation that perceives everything through a lens of fear and defense and conflict, you are still the Christ. And so everything you do, whether it's in ignorance or not, is unified, because what you divinely are is a unity. The thing is that when that unity is used to attempt the impossible, or when that unity, when that singularity is used to try to establish an illusion, even though it is absolutely unified, it cannot succeed. Whereas the Christ, who knows he or she is the Christ, cannot fail in unified intent. Do you see what I'm saying? Whether you're conscious or unconscious of being the Christ, you are the Christ. Whether you act consciously or unconsciously, the act will be a unified act. But when the attempt is to do something that is impossible, outside the laws of God, no matter how unified the act is, the attempt cannot succeed. So the power of your being as the Christ right now cannot bear fruit when it is applied to an impossibility. Again, the ego's goal is as unified as the Holy Spirit's, and it is because of this that their goals can never be reconciled in any way or to any extent. The ego always seeks to divide and separate. The Holy Spirit always seeks to unify and heal. Now, if you are the Christ, and you are a singularity, if I may put it that way, then you cannot use the, for lack of better words, authority and power of your Christhood and your singularity to create division. Do you see that? It won't work because that which is singular cannot make anything unlike itself. Continuing, as you heal, you are healed, because the Holy Spirit sees no order of healing. Healing is the way to undo the belief in differences, being the only way of perceiving the sonship without this belief, without the belief of separateness, where you're constantly in conflict with each other and you're constantly having to negotiate peace. Continuing, this perception is therefore in accord with the laws of God, even in a state of mind which is out of accord with His. The strength of right perception is so great that it brings the mind into accord with His, God's, because it yields to His pull, which is in all of you. To oppose, this is beautiful, to oppose the pull or the will of God is not an ability, but a real delusion. The ego believes that it has this ability and can offer it to you as a gift. You do not want it. It is not a gift. It is nothing at all. God has given you a gift which you both have and are. When you do not use it, you do not know you have it. By not knowing this, you do not know what you are. Healing, then, is a way of approaching knowledge by thinking in accordance with the laws of God and recognizing their universality. Thinking in accordance with the laws of God. Thinking, I am neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it. I am at that point, and I must understand myself from there. Wow. Without this recognition, continuing, without this recognition, you have made the laws themselves meaningless to you, the laws of God. Yet the laws are not meaningless, since all meaning is contained by them and in them. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, because that is where the laws of God operate truly. And they can operate only truly, since they are the laws of truth.